Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. We're diving deep into the NFL Power Rankings for Week 7, and boy, oh boy, do we have a juicy topic to discuss. The Dallas Cowboys, America's team, Jerry Jones' pride and joy, are once again finding themselves in a familiar position, all dressed up with nowhere to go. Let's set the scene here, folks. We're 7 weeks into the NFL season, and the Cowboys are sitting at a respectable 4-2 record. Not bad, right? Well, not so fast. If you've been watching their games closely, you'll know that something just isn't clicking for this star-studded roster. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about the man behind the curtain, Jerry Jones. Love him, or hate him, you can't deny that Jerry knows how to make headlines. He's the oil tycoon turned NFL owner, who's never been shy about opening up his wallet. The Cowboys are valued at a whopping $9 billion, making them the most valuable sports franchise in the world. But as we all know, money can't buy championships. Jones has always had a go big or go home mentality when it comes to building his team. He's like a kid in a candy store during free agency, unable to resist the shiny new toys. This approach has led to a roster that's more bloated than a Thanksgiving turkey. The Cowboys currently have the second highest team salary in the NFL, just behind the Cleveland Browns. That's a lot of zeros on those paychecks, folks. But here's the kicker, all that money spent, and what do they have to show for it? Since their last Super Bowl win in 1995, the Cowboys have won, wait for it, a grand total of 4 playoff games. 4, in almost 3 decades. That's not exactly a great return on investment, is it? Now, let's break down why this expensive and bloated team seems to be going nowhere fast. First up, we've got Prescott. The $160 million man was supposed to be the franchise quarterback to lead Dallas back to the promised land. But so far, this season, he's been more hit or miss than a game of battleship. Sure, he's had some stellar moments, like that 400-yard game against the Chargers. But he's also had some real head-scratchers, like those 3 interceptions against the Cardinals. Moving on to the running game, we've got Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. On paper, this should be one of the most dynamic duos in the league. Elliott's got that $90 million contract, making him one of the highest-paid running backs in NFL history. But let's be real, folks, Zeke hasn't looked like the same player who took the league by storm in his rookie year. He's averaging just 3.6 yards per carry this season. That's not exactly setting the world on fire. Pollard, on the other hand, has shown flashes of brilliance. He's explosive, he's got great vision, and he's a threat in the passing game. But for some reason, the Cowboys seem hesitant to fully unleash him. It's like they've got a Ferrari in the garage, but they're afraid to take it out for a spin. Now, let's talk about that offensive line. Once upon a time, the Cowboys' O-line was the envy of the league. They were opening up holes big enough to drive a truck through. But injuries and age have taken their toll. Tyrone Smith, once considered the best left tackle in the game, has played in just 17 games over the last 3 seasons. Zach Martin is still a stud at guard, but he can't do it all by himself. On the defensive side of the ball, things aren't much better. The Cowboys spent a fortune on defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, giving him a $105 million contract back in 2019. While Lawrence is still a solid player, he's not putting up the kind of numbers you'd expect from someone with that price tag. He's got just 2 sacks through 6 games this season. The secondary, led by Trayvon Diggs and his massive new contract, has been inconsistent at best. Sure, Diggs can make the flashy interception, but he also gets burned for big plays far too often. It's like watching a high-stakes game of poker. You never know if you're going to hit the jackpot or go bust. So, what's the result of all this expensive talent? A team that looks great on paper but can't seem to put it all together on the field. They'll dominate one week, looking like Super Bowl contenders, only to lay an egg the next week against a team they should beat handily. Take their Week 6 loss to the Eagles, for example. This was a chance for the Cowboys to make a statement against a division rival and one of the top teams in the NFC. Instead, they got outplayed in every phase of the game. The offense couldn't move the ball consistently, the defense couldn't stop Jalen Hurts, and even their usually reliable special teams had a meltdown. It's performances like these that have Cowboys fans pulling their hair out. They see all the talent on the roster. They know how much money Jerry Jones has invested, and yet the results just aren't there. It's like having all the ingredients to make a gourmet meal, but somehow ending up with a burnt TV dinner. So where do the Cowboys go from here? That's the million-dollar question, or in Jerry's case, the billion-dollar question. Some would argue that it's time for a complete overhaul. Blow it up, start from scratch, build through the draft. But we all know that's not Jerry's style. He's always been more interested in making a splash than playing the long game. Others might say that the Cowboys just need more time to gel. After all, they've got a new defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn, and it takes time to implement a new system. But how much time is enough? Cowboys fans have been patient for nearly 30 years now. At some point, you've got to wonder if this current core group has what it takes to get over the hump. One thing's for sure, the pressure is mounting. The NFC East, once considered one of the weakest divisions in football, is now one of the most competitive. The Eagles look like legitimate Super Bowl contenders. The Giants are exceeding expectations under new head coach Brian Daboll, and even the Commanders have shown flashes of competence. If the Cowboys can't find a way to start living up to their potential soon, they could find themselves on the outside looking in when the playoffs roll around. And in Jerry's world, missing the playoffs is simply unacceptable. So, as we look at the NFL power rankings for Week 7, where do the Cowboys stand? It's hard to place them, honestly. On any given Sunday, they could look like a top 5 team or a bottom 10 team. They're the ultimate wild card, capable of beating anyone or losing to anyone. For now, let's slot them in at number 12. They're clearly talented enough to be in the playoff mix, but they haven't shown the consistency to be considered among the league's elite. They're the definition of a team stuck in NFL purgatory, too good to bottom out and get high draft picks, but not good enough to seriously contend for a championship. As we wrap up this video, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is the root of the Cowboys' problems? Is it Jerry Jones meddling? Is it the coaching? Is it the players not living up to their contracts? Or is it some combination of all of the above? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more NFL content.